Hey there, welcome to the Evolve with Nadine podcast. I'm your host, Nadine Rodriguez. I'm here to help you evolve your mind so that you can live an amazing life. I'll be talking all things healing, manifesting, energy, spirituality, the subconscious mind, and more. It's a mixture between science and spirit to help you get into alignment with your true authentic self and raise your self-worth. I'm so happy you're here, so let's get started. Hello, everyone. Today, my guest is my friend and colleague, Nicole Guberman. She is a self-love and transformational coach with a background in opera, performance, and private vocal instruction. And today we're going to be talking about our voice and the power behind it. So welcome, Nicole. I'm so pumped you're here.
I'm thrilled. Thank you so much, Nadine, for having me.
Yes. So let's get right to it. The power of our voice. I know you mentioned how our voices, like we have such power as change makers and healers. And sometimes we're not aware of what exactly it is that our mind is projecting into the universe as entrepreneurs and just even, human beings.
Absolutely. Yeah. I could talk about all things voice all day long. So to keep it in the context of entrepreneurship and leadership, I think it's so important to first know who we are as people, as individuals, as humans, and how we express ourselves, on a daily basis, because that is going to transmute into how we express ourselves in the realm of business and interacting with others. And so it's so important to be congruent, to find that congruence within us so that in any area of life, we are communicating from a place of center and power and ease and ownership. And as healers, I think it's even more important to have clarity and connection to that, because we are the alchemists. We are the people that act as a catalyst for other people's transformation. So if we don't know ourselves and we don't have awareness around how we're using our voice, then that can, get in the way of the process or, kind of hinder the experience in the moment. So it first starts with us, so that we can infuse that into the experience with a client. So that is something that's very important to me on a variety of levels, in the context of a session, but also, we're both hypnotherapists. And so when we make recordings and we are putting ourselves out there into the universe, how do we express ourselves and communicate in that same way where we're really sharing all of ourselves? We're not holding back. We're really feeling free to, fully put ourselves on display, to shine and give all of ourselves. Otherwise, it becomes kind of an interesting thing where we're holding part of ourselves back, or, whatever feelings we have about ourselves from an inner standpoint could potentially kind of leak through a performance.
Right.
So that's something that I would like to continue exploring with others in the healing space, because, everybody's got their own level of awareness or their own ability to hear and listen. And so some people might not pick up on that, but my ears as a performer, as an opera singer, they're so tuned to listen to inflection and nuances of the voice that I realize it's become very important to me to help others unleash their voice and feel that freedom and that ease.
Wow. And I
love
that.
all that.
Yeah, no. And I mean, that's a an amazing gift and skill right there, because I mean, you can just, I'm assuming that you can listen to somebody speak and you can just already tell how they're feeling pretty much based on, I guess, their tone, or just, I don't know. To be honest, whatever, however it is that they're speaking, their tonal quality.
You totally
I'm,
nailed it. Yeah. And so often I have to turn off that listening sense, because I'm not in a negative way, but I have to say, okay, like we're just having a conversation right now, and I'm going to put that element aside, and then I'll bring it up like, hey, have you considered, or let's talk about this for a moment, because I don't want my own things to get in the way of the moment. But yes, that will kind of be running in the background, kind of like a tape, and I'm internalizing that and just remembering things, and having taught for so many years, that part of me is just so present that it really is something that brings me joy, because I can always just bring it up in the moment, and it adds a whole other layer to the experience for sure.
right. And I love how you said, you're all about just having everybody just come out and be themselves and just not hold back, because this is something I still struggle with. I'm not 100%, I guess, open or transparent or fully myself, in this space. What are some techniques that you use to help your clients out with, I guess, fully embracing themselves?
I love that question. Yeah. And, I want to, before I dive into that, I want to say that this is a lifelong process. We're a work in progress always. It's easy to get caught up in this kind of perfectionism, or it needs to be a certain way, or is it good enough? All these things that kind of lurk, lurk under the surface. And so, that's something to keep in mind and to be compassionate towards ourselves about. So as far as things to help, unleash the voice, we could focus on a variety of things, but I think one of the main aspects is focusing on the breath, how we breathe, how we use our body to breathe, and how the voice is related to it. So I might start with a series of breathing exercises. And breathing is such an important aspect to life, even outside of speaking and expressing ourselves as business owners, as entrepreneurs. So there's so many different ways you could approach it. Often I might work with people in regard to the way they inhale, the way they exhale, how they're coordinating the efficiency of air on their, speaking on the breath, they're speaking on the air, as we call it. So you might incorporate something like a hiss, doing something like sss, or a lip trill, like to get air flowing in an easy and efficient way. It becomes really fun. It becomes a way of like having fun in the moment and just getting out of your head. It's so easy to get caught up in your head, and to help people get that out of the way, or just clear that out of the way without even doing things like mindset work, I think is really important to remember that sense of playfulness.
Yeah, I mean, just even imagining doing it, I just want to laugh. And I guess I'm just pulled here into my body, versus if I was in my mind, I'd just be like, nope, I'm here just making sounds and
Right. Right.
being
And then
silly.
it also becomes a little bit of mindset, because it's like if somebody is struggling, or having a challenge in the moment with actually just like making the lip trill sound, some people call it like motorboating, when you like blow your lips on a baby's belly. That's the same exact sound, and you don't think about that in a moment, that you're just doing, and then you can slide up on a pitch, and then it becomes just like, getting dressed in the morning or brushing your teeth. It's just, it becomes automatic. But yeah, that element of playfulness, that transfers into mindset work. Like, oh, if I feel like it's not working, what does that say about me? Nothing. It means, hey, I just got to practice this. This is something new that I'm learning, and I'm here for the moment. I'm here for the experience, and to trust yourself and know that eventually you'll figure it out. But there's really, like, I was having another conversation with a colleague of mine, like, there's nothing to get. All you got to do is just do it in the moment, and know that when you trust your body and you have these loving feelings towards yourself, that it's going to work. And just having that inner knowing, I think, is so important.
Right. So I was just going to ask, the relationship with intuition, does this kind of really open up the gates for intuition to kind of flood through? So you're not really in your head, you can kind of just have whatever it is come through.
Totally. You hit that right on the nail on the head there. It totally relates to intuition and building that sense within you of, what is my voice? What does my voice want to do? What am I drawn to from a vocal standpoint? When we talk about artistry and some people are really drawn to pop music. Some people are really drawn to classical music. I specifically went into opera. I've taught pop and I've taught musical theater over the years, but my heart and my soul responds to opera. So it made sense for me to continue on that path. That was my center. And then as we continue growing as artists, then we can venture off into another genre because we know what our center is. So when I work with clients vocally, I always want to know, what do you love the most? And that's where we're going to start. We're not going to start with something challenging. We want to start with what's easy. And I think that's so important. That transfers to life. Why make something more challenging right off the bat? We want to start from ease and simplicity, right?
Mm-hmm,
you want to keep it simple. Wouldn't life be so interesting if we all kept it simple?
Oh, absolutely. And then that builds momentum and then you just keep it going.
Exactly. Yeah. From simplicity, you're absolutely right, comes that momentum, that sense of, oh, the confidence that comes from simplicity. Why make something more difficult? That's kind of like almost goes towards the idea of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Right. If we're doing something overly challenging or something that's not working and we don't change it, then it's like, wow, you're just going to keep going down this path of struggle. So sometimes it's worth taking the space to step back and say, all right, what's not working with whatever, with my presenting, with the way I perform on a daily basis. And that's also another thing. We could be performing on a stage or performing in front of a small group of people or on Zoom or whatever, but we're actually performing in our life every single day. That's a performance.
Oh, I love that. Yeah,
right?
You're so right.
And, we're going to perform differently every day. There's a lot of factors that go into daily performance. And something that's also become very important to me is teaching and coaching the concept of peak performance, of who do I need to be or what do I need to do in order to be at my best level, at my optimal level. So that makes life really rewarding, I think, when we are continuing to strive for that optimum place, that optimum life.
Yeah. And you're also, I guess, you're more involved too in your life and in that performance versus, when you're in your head and you're just like, oh, I got to get this done. Or you're just so focused on like that success. I can't even say it. But when I feel like everything you're saying right now is just related to creativity and I'm sure there's so many people out there that are like, I'm not creative at all, but
right. And
based on what you're telling me, you are. Like everyone is.
Yes, everyone has innate creativity, and it's up to us to tap into it or seek the support to find to be able to tap into it. That's so right, that we all, even from, I know you do a lot of inner child work. We have that innate creativity as children. And then as we get older, somehow it starts to dissipate. It starts to kind of fade away because we have responsibilities of life. And then suddenly, if we're not being conscious about that aspect of creativity in our lives, it just kind of fades into the background. And the idea of being creative, of being playful, of becoming present, I think creativity is unleashed through being present, of finding yourself in the present moment. And these days with technology and everything, and this belief that I need to keep hustling and pushing and the next thing, we often forget to give ourselves the space to be present in the moment, and what that really does for us. Going out into nature. I know that's something you've really been enjoying, is giving yourself the space to really just be present with yourself outside, and playing with children, playing with a dog. I think that's one of the reasons why I love dogs so much, because it takes me back into that child place of just really enjoying the moment, and that sense of pleasure. We always want to go back to pleasure. Why go back to pain?
Exactly. Exactly. And yeah, I'm all about, going outside, even as cold as it is lately right now. I'm still out there just trying to take a walk and get some fresh air and be out in nature to just get myself grounded. But I love how you just mentioned it, like that whole hustle mentality. I got caught up in it, and I've been really pulling myself back, just to be like, no, just chill.
Right.
It's okay.
Right. It's almost, it feels counterintuitive to be like, okay, I got to stop, but at the same time, it's actually going to give you more, that idea of less is more, or the disciplined pursuit of less. I just love that concept, because it's like, wow, what would happen if I just did less, and and gave myself the space to stop the hustle. What's underneath the hustle? Is it a belief that it's not enough, what I'm doing is not enough? Is it a belief that I don't know what I'm doing, and so I just have to learn more? Or there are women out there who are experts in what they do. They have tons of training. They've built up this life experience. They've worked with many clients, and yet it's like they feel like it's not enough, that if I just got another certification, or if I just did this and this, then I'll be ready. But sometimes that's not the answer. It's, who am I? Who do I need to be to get what I want? And allowing yourself to thrive, without feeling like you need to do more. Right.
Yes, exactly. Or even, right, just having that belief in yourself that what you know is enough. Because
Exactly. What you know is enough. How you've lived your life is enough. And you're going to be able to help someone on their path in your own special way. And that's enough. You're enough. And it's society kind of ingrains this belief that, wait, maybe it's not enough. And we start to question ourselves. And that questioning really needs to be explored. It needs to be examined, so that we figure out what are those beliefs that are getting in our way, that could be cleared out much faster than, spending years in therapy trying to figure it out. There are other ways to release those, as obviously, as you know, and I know, and showing people the way, that's much faster. That change can happen in an instant, right?
Right, exactly. You don't need weeks, years, or any of that to make it happen.
Not to knock therapy in any way,
Oh, right. But
that
there are some shortcuts you can take.
Right. Yeah. And I don't even know if I'd call it a shortcut. It's just a different route. It's a different path. And I think it's also important to know when you're ready for that path. Some people need a little bit more time. And then they decide, okay, well, this hasn't worked and this hasn't worked and this hasn't worked. So let's see if this might work, and having that sense of openness.
Right.
Because sometimes we're just not ready for a different route. It's like that saying, when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Yeah,
I believe
exactly.
that's the saying. Sometimes we just know, okay, like now's the time, I'm ready. And that's when you want to jump. That's when you want to take that leap.
Yes. And that's so true. I mean, there have been so many instances when I've been presented with something, and at that moment I was just like, nope. And then months or years later, it comes back again. And I'm like, wow, this is so resonating right now. And it was
Exactly.
like, I was ready.
Right. It's that element of timing that comes into play. And being okay with saying, I'm not ready, being okay with it, and exploring the feelings underneath that of, well, what's going on? Why don't I feel ready? Or, what do I need right now in order to feel ready? Right? We don't always have to dissect why it's not working. If we just say, okay, this is not working, what do I need to do? And decide the meaning around that, right?
Yes, exactly. What meaning are you giving it?
Yes. Wow. That's, key to life.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing how to manage your feelings and then taking the necessary action to move forward.
Exactly. Exactly. So I have a question then. So somebody who is a leader, whether they're an entrepreneur or they're just a leader um, in their field, if they're facing some resistance, and I know you said do like the whole breath and like um, the bubbles, I think it was.
Oh, the lip trail.
The love trail, yeah. But they still can't get out of their head. What would you or maybe they're not even just in the resistance in that moment. They really want to have a presentation or they want to lead a group or do something, but they have resistance. How would you help them navigate through that so that they can, use their voice to be the leader that they want to be?
Oh, I love that question. Yeah, resistance. It's there in life. And before I dive into that, I just want to mention a book that I love. It's called The War of Art by Stephen
Oh,
Pressfield.
yes, that is a
And
great book.
have you read that?
I
Yeah. Oh my
have
God.
multiple times.
Yeah, it just hits you so deeply, and you're like, oh, like if there's anything that could, spring me into action, it's that book, because he just throws it right in your face, like, what's going on?
Oh yeah. I mean, I read it and I was like, he wrote this just for me.
Right. I just, he talks about resistance. If there's any kind of entrepreneurial journey ahead of you or artistic journey ahead of you, how to address that resistance. But for me, it comes down to a variety of things. One would be kind of uncovering what's going on underneath that resistance. Is there a negative emotion or limiting belief that's stopping you from taking action? Is it things that people have said to you over the years that have suddenly become a voice that you're listening to? And what is that voice? Whose voice is that? First addressing the root cause of the issue. And then we would venture into energy work of how are you, tapping into your sense of assertiveness or your aggression? What's your relationship to aggression? Which sounds really interesting. And that's something I had to work on even myself, from the lens of opera, that we are, in a nutshell, screaming beautifully. And if you're not used to being loud, it's a really kind of, it seems at the beginning, a daunting process of,
well, first I have to get used to being loud. And then how do I do that beautifully? And that's a process. So when it comes to, putting yourself on display in the context of entrepreneurship, we have to learn how to be okay with being loud. What is our definition of loud for us, as individuals? Because that means something different to everyone.
When we are giving a presentation, what are the old beliefs or the old programming that's affected the way we use our voice?
Yes.
Let's say we had a family member that, whether they were aware of it or not, they were incredibly shaming. Over the years, I've had voice students, from the standpoint of performing, I've had voice students where they'd say, oh, my mother told me that to stop singing, just like stop singing, either because they didn't like the singing or they were being loud or whatever. And so then the student ends up feeling like, oh, there's something wrong with me. Why am I being told to stop singing? And so that experience then lives inside of them, and they start to have this belief about themselves, like, oh, I shouldn't be loud. Oh, I shouldn't make sound. And then they become, in some way, meek and mild or timid. And then it's up to them to realize that, oh, it would be good for me to address my voice. And how do I go about that? And so it's so important that when you're doing vocal work, that the teacher, the coach, the practitioner has a deep understanding of how the mind works and how the mind is connected to the voice, how the mind is connected to the voice, is connected to the body. It's all related. So, if you go and do a speaker training, let's say you're signing up for a speaker training and you're learning the structure of a presentation, or you're doing Toastmasters or whatever, that's great and that's fine and great. But there's deeper elements going on underneath the surface that relate to these mindset challenges of, well, wait a minute, if I'm having anxiety about giving a presentation and I want to get over that anxiety, there's more than one thing going on, And so I was talking about earlier, I just love being that catalyst, being that alchemist, or being that magician. When you think about archetypes, the concept of magician, of what the magician does or how the magician plays a role in transformational change, I just love being that person, of playing that role. It's a very important role to me. And I think it makes me different. It makes me unusual. That's something special about me in the way that I approach mindset coaching and transformational change, and really helping others to become their authentic selves. It's so much more than we think it is. And yet it can also be simple. You can have both things going on. It doesn't have to be one or the other. And I just love that so much.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I mean, what you do is incredible, and I'm sure all your clients are just they love you as a coach, because you're
that's so sweet of you to say.
You're just incredible. I love what you're doing.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I just love seeing the smile and the joy on a client's face when they've realized that they can do something that they thought they couldn't do. It's like, of course you can. Why, of course you can. And that just creates so much momentum and confidence, and this feeling of, success and ownership, that this is just the very beginning. What else is available to me, or what else do I have inside that hasn't been explored? And then it's like, the sky's the limit. And I just love that. I love this field, and it's such an amazing field in so many ways. Yeah.
Right. Creating change and helping people just create what they want. It's great. Yeah.
creating what they want. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And
Wow. Well, Nicole, thank you so much for being here. This was such a pleasure speaking with you. I've learned so much. I think my main takeaway, it was a quote that you said. It was just, or a question was, what's your relationship with aggression? And I've been really pondering that. I'm like, wow, that's actually a question I've never answered.
wow. Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to talk about that more, just the two of us. But yeah, I just, scratched the surface with that. But yeah, what's your relationship to aggression? And, it's so important.
Yeah, totally. I'm just like, huh.
Yeah. Do some writing about that, right? Do some writing and explore, how do I feel about being angry? Do I like being angry, or is it weird for me to feel angry, or what's going on there? Did someone not allow me to express my anger? And what was that about? Yeah, so that's really crucial to my work. And
That's great. Really.
It's okay to be angry about things. And it really comes down to, do we have to take out our anger on others, or are there other productive ways to express anger? And yeah, that's yeah, it's an interesting topic, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. This was awesome, and I can't wait to continue working together and learning from each other, and the things that you're doing are just so amazing, and I look up to you in so many ways, so keep doing what you're doing.
Oh, thank you. All right, thank you. And everyone, thank you for listening. Thanks for listening to this week's episode. I really hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please feel free to subscribe and leave me a review. I would really appreciate that. So until next time.